I want to talk a little bit about why I stopped filming tennis videos and uploading tennis videos. And it has to do with overall goals in life. And a friend of mine whose opinion I respect a lot and whom we bounce ideas off of each other, he just challenged me and asked me, what is the ultimate goal of that channel? Like, what do you want it to do for you? And honestly, I wanted it to eventually become a source of revenue, and kind of a gateway out of the 9-to-5 life. And, he made the point, he said, I kind of don't see that channel doing that for you. I'm adjusting this camera as I'm going. I have this little gimbal I need to get used to. And eventually I came to the conclusion that he was right. There were other small tennis YouTubers kind of doing the same thing. I have one particularly in mind. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but several other small tennis YouTube channels seem to kind of abandon that path. And I think that was the right choice for me. And I did love making those videos and I enjoyed everything about that, but I did not see it giving me, I almost don't like saying these words. It's kind of like a buzzword in my mind right now, but financial freedom. And that can have various definitions for different people. But for me, it's to own my own sources of income, my own entities, rather than relying on a job. And that is something I guess I've always wanted. And I've taken some non-conventional paths in my life and I've done some interesting things. And I guess I kind of want to keep that going. And the part of me that goes to the office every day, sits in the same office, does work that, sometimes is challenging and fun. But at the end of the day, clocking in and clocking out is difficult for me. So since dropping that tennis YouTube channel, I developed a business on the side, and that business is doing pretty well for me. Happy to say. I don't want to talk about what that business is right now. But I definitely see that move as a good decision for my life. I do still love tennis and I still play a lot of tennis. It's a great source of fitness. I've made a lot of friends playing tennis. I've gone to the Rome Open, I think in 25. Yeah, last year I went to the Rome Open because a friend of mine was getting married in Italy. So I was able to go see Alcaraz play Musetti. And that was amazing. That was my first time being a tennis fan and watching a tennis match. And then being in Rome, the whole thing was just magical for me. And then again, I was able to go see the US Open final in 2025. I flew up there with a friend. We made it to the final. We missed, this pissed me off. We missed the first set because Donald Trump was there and they had a second security right before you get into Arthur Ashe. And that line, not only was it extremely long, and we stood in that for like an hour and a half or more, but we were like wrapped around the venue, and we didn't even realize that the part of the line we were in, there were a lot of people cutting up near Arthur Ashe. And so we weren't even moving. Anyway, still a great experience. Being in New York was fun, and going to the final, seeing Alcaraz play center in person is a pretty magical thing. But yeah, still a huge tennis fan. Love it, love playing. I'm all about it. But the time it was taking to make those videos and the effort, I did not foresee producing what I wanted from that. Totally fine. You learn from things, and that's something that resonates with me, is the idea that you could just try things. And I remember distinctly that same friend of mine who challenged me with the tennis YouTube channel and what I was trying to get out of it. He said this statement one time. He said, you could just try things. And he's saying that about all people. You can just try things. Like, we have the freedom to just try whatever we want. If you want to change in your lifestyle, you can just try something, see if it works. I've tried numerous things. I wrote a book and self-published on Amazon, started the tennis YouTube channel. I wrote coloring books or made coloring books. And you could say that all of those things were failures, like they didn't, I guess, produce money. And what's interesting is I now have all of that to look back on, and I don't see them as failures. I just see them all as experiments. And they're experiments that I'm glad that I tried. They're all just things that I tried. I'm glad I tried them. I see all of that as just, you know, that ping pong back and forth on your way to success, however you define success. I definitely do not define success as simply making money. There's way more to life. But unfortunately, money happens to be this gateway to give you freedom. Which is really what I want more than anything else, is to be able to do what I want with my time outside of needing to help people and wanting to help people, but not having to clock in and out just to put bread on the table. That's something I definitely aspire to, and letting go of the tennis YouTube channel has helped me to move in that direction. Owning my own business. I mentioned in another video that I bought my first house, and even that was it was an investment. And I know not everybody, or buying a house is not always necessarily a good investment, but I bought this house particularly at a low entrance value. It was a fixer-upper, still is. I'm putting in a ton of work to make this thing better and livable. Also, it's a duplex, and I already have a tenant in it. So that's a means of income right there. And all of that is starting to propel me and prepare me to transition out of the 9-to-5. And so as I say that, I'm like, what if they see, you know, what if like my boss sees this video? Totally fine with that. I actually told my manager, who is also a friend of mine now, great guy, you know, I was not going to be there forever. I'm an engineer, by the way. I work at an engineering consulting firm. And I honestly do pretty well with that. Like, for South Louisiana, my income is fine. But it's not that. If they paid me twice what I was making now, it'd still be me working for someone else and not for myself, and not exploring creative outlets. But anyway, so I talked to him about all of this. I said, I have so many ideas. There's things I want to explore. I'm not going to be in the 9-to-5 forever, which is really more like 7-to-5. And he just supported me. Like, I could not ask for a better manager. He was like, you know, the way I see my role in this company and informing people is that nobody's going to be here forever, but if you can leave here a better person, then I would have done my job. And I do want to say that I could not be more thankful for the people I work for right now in my day job. If I didn't have amazing people that I work with, it would really be miserable. But the fact that I work with such amazing people is something I feel very blessed with, and I'm very thankful for. But even with that, it's still a 9-to-5, and still something that I'm slowly finding myself coming closer to being able to transition out of that. That's part of what this is now. I'm making these, you know, new kinds of YouTube videos as an experiment, as something to try, as a creative outlet. My brother is also a videographer. He does weddings and other things. Very talented guy. So he and I are talking about possibly making some videos, you know, maybe making some funny skits. Maybe I don't come across as very funny in these videos, but not necessarily saying that I am either, but it is kind of hard to be funny just like walking with a camera like this, you know, one guy in a camera, kind of feel like you're talking to yourself. So yeah, drop the tennis YouTube. got a job. I made the tennis YouTube during COVID, and I did not have a job at that time, which, you know, allowed me that freedom to explore that creative outlet. And I can feel after, you know, working this job for 4+ years, another job, and then this job for 4+ years, that what I describe to a friend of mine as creative atrophy. Because you go to work, you go home, you get in such a routine that, like, there's really not enough energy and space in your mind to really allow the creative juices to flow. And to me, that's torture. I do have a pretty analytical mind, kind of an engineering mind, but I do also have the creative side, a side that, you know, wants to seek and partake of beauty and manifest beauty. And that's actually something I definitely want to get into with this channel, is how can I add beauty, you know, via the internet. I think it's extremely important for us to live off of the computer and to just go live our lives, to go outside and sweat. And it's kind of ironic that, you know, I'm making this YouTube video, but the fact of the matter is, YouTube, the internet, is a big part of all of our lives. And I know it's a big part of my life, but it's not all of my life. We all take in a lot of content. So part of my motivation for this is wanting to add something beautiful, something meaningful, something helpful, something of value, something real, grounded, for, you know, to combat all the just the bullshit you see online, like AI slop and clickbaity stuff. People that are just trying to, like, do anything it takes without regard to what it actually does to the viewer, you know, to get their success or whatever. So I want to, you know, kind of be a combatant to that, add something real, add something valuable. Obviously there's plenty of real and valuable things online already, and I appreciate that. It's helped my life. And, you know, okay, so something that's coming to mind is some doubtful thoughts that have already entered my mind. One, this is my 3rd video in a row, 3 days in a row, and I did not feel like making this one. It wasn't just that I didn't feel like making it, I just have so much going on. Like, I'm working on this house, working my job, taking care of other things. I had to put on a suit and a gas mask and climb under my house yesterday. It's above ground, it's lifted, to spray for fleas. I'm about to move into this house and there's a flea infestation. I had to crawl under it in this hot, humid weather. Excuse me. You know, on a random afternoon. There's just so much to do. Anyway, point I'm making is, day 3, it's already somewhat of a challenge, or I'm experiencing challenges. I have resolve in my mind, so I'm not like, oh no, am I gonna do it? Am I gonna follow through? It's like, no, I'm gonna follow through. That's easy. It will just be hard at times, possibly, to do that. Doubts that entered my mind. I started comparing myself to, or like my channel, what I'm delivering, my value, compared to larger, already established channels, and no less than, you know, freaking Mark Rober, who I went back and looked at some of his earliest videos. And I find this really fascinating, okay? So he has, I think, if I remember right, like 214 videos, and he's one of the biggest YouTubers on the internet, does a phenomenal job, is doing something amazing for humanity. He's rolling out with partners this education program that's gonna be made available for free to teachers, I guess, around the whole US. I don't think it's a global thing. I don't know how they're doing it, but he positioned himself, you know, with the position he's created himself via YouTube and whatever else he does, to be able to do something like that. And that's a really good thing for humanity. I don't know everything about Mark Rober. If there's anything controversial about him, I'm not aware of it. All I see is you know, that face value, what I was told during his TED Talk. Anyway, so I compared myself to him, and it made me think like, oh, like, you know, the classic negative messages like, I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that. What he is doing, you know, is a particular niche that he's optimized and made successful. You know, like, I won't be able to do that. It was just comparing, and so I was beating myself up, and at the end of the day, that doesn't matter at all. Like, me comparing is just a mistake. There was another channel that I saw had, I think, close to 500 videos. Okay, so Mark Rober had 214. This other channel had like over 500 videos. And I went and watched one of them. It was kind of similar to this. The guy was just talking at the camera, but I noticed his latest video, having been on YouTube for more time than my video from the other day, has less views than my video from the other day. So that's another comparison. It's like, okay, I could compare myself to that guy, but that's not really helpful either. I think people say don't compare yourself to others, and they tend to have in mind, like, don't compare yourself to people who like are ahead of you or have it better than you, that you would beat yourself up. But I really think you should not compare yourself to others, period. You know, if you're quote unquote ahead of somebody or doing something better than somebody, don't compare to them either. Like, none of that matters. Just get that out of your head. Live your own life, do your own thing, and that's what matters more than anything. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. I think that was a Jordan Peterson saying. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Are you making improvements? You got out of bed today. Maybe you slept in yesterday and you felt like a slob, but then the next day or today or the next day, you could get up right on time. Okay, so you did a little better for a mini goal that you had for yourself compared to yourself from yesterday. And that's a win, and that's really what matters. On a macro scale, when you're ebbing and flowing through life, is your trajectory on an upward slope. I think that's the key. That's the key to everything, because we're all having ups and downs. We all have our difficult days, and we may have our streak of amazing days. You see me sweating? It's super hot out here. But what is that overall trajectory? If you can have any kind of way to quantify that or feel that intuitively and know that your trajectory is in the right direction, you're doing great. That's all you really need to do. That's all you can really ask for yourself and out of life, in my opinion. Something else I'm thinking about doing with the channel is possibly filming and capturing the renovations I'm doing on this new house, this new old house. I've already done a lot, and I did not capture any of it. I don't really regret that. I was doing the best I could. I was on a timeline, but now things are starting to relax a little. I mean, life has been insanely crazy lately. The fact that I'm starting these YouTube videos right now is kind of crazy, but I think it's also because I was doing so much and finally felt that pressure release and felt the self-confidence that I built, making all the decisions I made, doing all the things I was doing, throwing myself in to numerous situations with this house that were unknown territory for me, and then just going for it and seeing how it's playing out, and it's playing out well, and things just come together. It's just kind of given me the platform in my own mind and my own motivation to just go for it. So I also know, and I want to hit back on what I was saying about Mark Rober, because this is something I'm thinking of. I don't know what time frame he sequentially puts out videos. I don't know if there's a specific time frame, like once a month or once every 2 months, but he does certainly not put out a ton of videos. but the videos that he puts out are of extreme quality. Like, they are extremely well produced. And so what I'm thinking with this 30 videos in 30 days thing is these videos are not going to be well produced. And I'm very aware of that. And that's really not the point of them. The point of these videos is really for me to break the ice, for me to start the experiment, get my feet wet, shake off the cobwebs, earn some trust in myself by actually following through with making these 30 videos in a row. And I fully intend to slow down the frequency with which of which I put out videos and increase the quality, put some more thought, effort into production and everything. Possibly like choose some specific direction. I don't know what that would be. But like I said, maybe some of those home improvement videos. A big inspiration for me was watching this other YouTuber, and he was building himself, I guess, kind of a vacation home or a second home, like out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And he did such an excellent job of building this home and filming it and editing it himself that I was just extremely inspired. I actually cried on my couch and was like, man, I'm watching this guy basically live the life that I want to live. And if I really do want to live a life kind of like that, I will never live that life if I don't start putting something out there on the internet. So even though this is not that, and it's not like some particular niche yet, it's something out there. I think a lot of the things I will say, like in my previous 2 videos and now this one, I think there are some powerful messages in here that would resonate with many people. And I also know that they are not going to reach many people. And I also know that they may not, for the viewer, carry the same weight that they might carry from someone who is further along in their YouTube journey, because who am I to say any of this stuff? I'm just some guy with a very, very small channel. None of that matters, because I think something I finally found peace with was like, if you're gonna start a YouTube channel, expect your first videos to be garbage. Like, just embrace that. Get over yourself. Just do it. And that's what I'm doing, you know? I definitely do care about what people think. I'm tempted to say like, oh, I'm just doing it because I don't care what people think. That's false to me. I do care what people think. I think everyone does. And I think that's important just to even survive and cooperate in society and live in community with others. But I think the key is being unabashedly yourself and accepting whatever consequences come from that. And you will have people on your side and you'll have people not on your side. And if you take a stand for anything, if you do anything, if you follow your heart, so to speak, if you do what feels true to you, that is going to be something you naturally see. People on your side, people against you. And I think that lately I'm less afraid of that. Instead of trying to be good with everybody, just being myself and let what happens, happens.